Hello, and welcome back to the Listening to Your Gut podcast. Super freaking pumped to have my friend, Dr. CJ, on the podcast today. Dr. CJ is the host of the Beyond Your Limits podcast, which I freaking love.
Thank you.
And she's also a clinical sports psychologist, and she's just an overall freaking badass of a woman. Okay. If I have to just blanket statement one thing, that would be it. So, welcome, CJ, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you. And I always like to share when applicable with the listeners and the viewers how I've connected with individuals. And so
Yeah.
CJ, you and I go way back to like podcasting times, like when we were first starting out as podcasters, and
Yeah.
we've just really been in the same sphere and realm ever since.
Hmm.
You even hosted like a podcasting mastermind, which I was a part of
Yeah.
with another one of our mutual friends. And yeah, so it's been awesome to see you grow and evolve and us growing and evolve alongside each other.
Yeah.
And most recently you shared in a box that a mutual friend of ours has, a monthly not a monthly, a quarterly subscription box that a friend of ours creates. You were part of that subscription box, and
Hmm.
you shared in a mastermind, or I guess not a mastermind, in a master class with us, um, the zero fucks given method, which was,
Yeah.
I'd heard you talk about it before, and I was like, okay, I really want to know, what is this and how can I use this in my life?
Hmm.
So tell us, what is, oh, hello,
I know Jackson just woke up from his
Jackson.
nap and
Hi,
decided I thought I'd
hello,
close the door all the way, but here's
welcome.
the pup.
I
Hopefully,
saw the door open. I was
I
like, yes,
know. My
one of our fur friends is here.
gosh. Yeah, my home is not haunted. At least I've
Love
not
it.
discovered any hauntedness, but yes, the door
I
opened and
love it.
here's the pup. I'm hoping he'll just oh, he's stretching and laying down, so we should
Oh,
be good to
love it.
go.
We love it. We love it. Hi,
Yeah,
Jackson.
yeah.
Join us. So, yeah, I would love for you to share. Let's just start there. What is, for those who saw the title and are like,
Mhm.
whoa, what is the zero fucks given method?
Yeah.
Tell us what that is, and then we'll dive into like, why did you create it? How is it created?
Yeah. Yeah. So the very basic gist of this is every day you wake up and you have 10 fucks to give, aka 10 units of energy. Everything you do throughout the day is going to use a fuck, use your
Mhm.
energy, or help you recharge your fucks or recharge your energy.
Yes.
And so it's this idea of how do I navigate my day from an energy perspective versus a time management perspective, which time management is awesome and it's not everything to help us be successful. And in my world and in my work, I connect with high performers, and so there is a lot on the plate, and the elements on the plate have to be executed at a high level. And so, how do we not only understand what we're doing at each moment of the day, but also how can we be at our best while we're doing it and
Yeah.
have enough energy in the tank?
I love that too. And I mean, you're high performing, I high performing. Pretty much anyone who's listening to this podcast is probably a high performing individual and has,
Yeah.
more of that type A personality, which is constantly go, 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 do, do, do. And so
Yes.
yeah, so I love this method because it helps you to get out of that and to really start becoming more in touch and more
Mhm.
intuitive with how you plan out your day, but also just how you live your life so that you're
Mhm.
not feeling like you're running around with your head cut off all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the recharge piece, I think, is the game changer in
Yeah.
this, right? And the piece that we don't often think about, because right now when we look at social media and we look at just popular culture, when it comes to self-care, it's, the 12-hour spa days and vacation in the
Right.
Maldives, or like, I don't even fucking know where the Maldives are. Like just all of these things that feel completely and utterly out of touch to your everyday person. And so we really break that into, yeah, like those are great. Let's use vacation time. I am a big offender of not using vacation time, so I'm speaking to myself here when I say this, like, use your vacation time, even if you don't go anywhere. It's great to just not have to go to work,
Right.
and, like, get the monthly massages and all of that, and how do we take care of ourselves from an energy perspective throughout the day? And
Yeah.
it's the part that I find folks have the hardest time with, but then when we break it down, it's like, "Oh, these are ways that I feel energized and reinvigorated throughout the day that have a huge, huge, huge impact."
Yeah. Well, and I love that too because to your point, yeah, you're absolutely like spot on there with it is hard for us, type A personalities, go, go, go people to stop and think about how am I recharging so that I can show up as my full authentic self and
Mhm.
not be bitchy and not
Yeah.
be, yeah, like and
Yeah.
not be not ourselves. And so, when you did that master class with us, I found myself like really needing those prompts from you to be like,
Mhm.
okay, well, how are you like, you only have these 10 fucks to give, and some of these things are worth more fucks than others. So
Yeah.
how are you also building in those fucks that are going to be for your recharge time?
Yeah.
So it really makes you feel, tap into more of that mindfulness piece of like,
Mhm.
how am I becoming more of a well-rounded person by giving myself that time to refuel, recharge, while also still feeling, for that type A personality person, like I am getting some things done that I want to get done, right? To
Mhm.
feel that quote unquote productive side is also happening too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're in such a production-driven society,
Yeah.
and when you take the social pressures plus those internal drives, and I think as women, how we've been socialized in at least the United States, right? It's go to school, pay attention, don't disturb anybody, and produce at a high level, go, 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 go. And right, like women What's there's like a statistic that when men look at job, postings, if
Yeah.
they feel like they've got like 20% of the things, they're like, "Oh, cool, I'll apply for this." And
Yeah.
women, it's like 95 plus percent of it we have to feel really, really, really confident in because we are, socialized to go and do all of the things. And by doing all the things, it's proving ourselves. And
Yeah.
so we're on this hamster wheel of go, 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 do, 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 prove, and do all of the things domestically that women have been socialized to do. And then if you look at those of us who are single or not in like a traditional gender rolled family, right? It just goes, 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 goes.
Yeah.
And so we get disconnected, right? And we stop paying attention to ourself and start paying attention to all of the scripts that were created for us in this world.
Yeah.
And so like you said, being mindful and coming I was going to say simply, but it's not always simple, right? Because of all of those things
Yeah.
that have been created for us that we've been socialized to, that's a lot to overcome. And so if we can come back to the moment, come back to how are we moving through our day with intention, we're not necessarily taking things off the plate, right? Because people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't get rid of anything." I'm not asking you to get rid of a single thing. What
Yeah.
I'm asking is, let's understand what's there, what's required of you from an energy standpoint, what
Yeah.
do you need as a human being to be at that level, and
Yeah.
let's just make tiny tweaks throughout the day. I say all the time, it's the small unsexy actions done consistently over time that gets us to the big sexy outcome. And so it's not these major life altering changes that need to be made. It is tiny, tiny tweaks that make the life altering impact.
Whoa, that's a mic drop moment right there. I love that. Yeah, it is so true. It's like that other saying of like don't eat the whole elephant, like bite it off piece by piece, right? Like it is the more consistent you are over time with those small things that you're changing or implementing, the more progress you're going to see in the long run.
Yeah,
So I love that.
absolutely.
So let's talk about like the inception, the birth of this. When did
Yeah.
this first like come to mind? And like,
Yeah.
okay, let's make this a thing.
Mhm, mhm. So you mentioned at the beginning, I'm a clinical sports psychologist,
Yeah.
and what that means is I have a specialization in sports psychology. So again, working with high performers, helping high performers perform higher, right?
Yeah.
um, and reestablishing high levels of performance, right? Post injury, yada yada yada. Anyways, so that's my master's degree, and my PhD is in counseling psychology. So I have the mental health side. So I can help people across the lifespan, mental health, general counseling, the sport, the performance elements, and all of the intersectionality of it. So my entire career has been working with college students. And so let's see, it's maybe like 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, not 8, about 6 or 7, I was working in college mental health, talking to these students, and it was around the time where everyone was just saying like, "I don't give a fuck. I got 0 fucks to give to that." And students were using it in the context of all of the things on their plate, right? All the stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And what I picked up on was it's not that they don't care. Certainly some people would talk about like, I don't give a fuck in, the context of a relationship where they were just over it and, but a lot of times they were saying like, I don't have any fucks to give. And it was an energy piece. It wasn't necessarily a time management. It wasn't a take anything off your plate. It was, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
I am so exhausted. And so how do I continue to do all the things at the high level that I wanna perform in and not be so miserable and be happy and rested and all of those things.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it just sorta came to me where I was like, "Okay, we can give this some structure. We can say," and the 10 is just an arbitrary number, right? Like, a tank on a car holds, anywhere from 10 to 15 gallons, and so I just said 10 is easy, it's a nice round number, and so we start off with 10, and then so how do we move through our day and do it at a high level and not be burnt out by 11 o'clock in the morning?
I love that. I love it. So let's dive into how you've implemented this in your life because
Mhm,
one question I had after we had that masterclass, that chat was how what's the best structure? And I'm sure it
mhm,
varies for every person, but like,
mhm,
do you start in the morning
mhm,
and jot down like, kind of planning out your fucks to give? And how do you account for those things that are unplanned that happen spur of the moment throughout the day? Like, I
right,
know it's nothing will be perfect, right? And we're not
yeah,
going for perfection, but how do you use it in your own daily life?
mhm.
And like maybe clue us in on like what time of day do you do it? Do you go back over it and kind of adjust it and modify it throughout the day? What
Mhm.
does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think this is such a multi-step process, right? And you're gonna get the classic psychologist answer, "Well, it depends," And
Yeah.
so, I think for me specifically, I am such a creature of habit and
Mhm.
such a like, I have a routine for my routines, and part of that is from being an athlete, and that is a necessity. When I was going through school, and also training for karate and diving and soccer and all of these pieces and just getting all of the things done. I learned through observation. My dad was an engineer, and so my mom tells this story where she used to go to the gym in the morning just to get out of our way, because if one of us was, like, 5 minutes behind, it like, we were in a choreographed routine in the morning, and so if one of us was 5 minutes behind or 5 minutes early, that routine just, somebody gets out of step in the dance, and we are
Yeah.
flailing all over the place. And so a lot of this for me is ingrained in a way. And so in my life, I use the zero fucks given method more so to set boundaries and not necessarily always boundaries with other people, but boundaries for myself.
Sure.
So for instance, let's say I look at my work day and I know, okay, I've got 2 meetings in the morning, then I have a chunk of time where I can do my administrative duties, and then I have clients in the afternoon. So I know that I need to recharge before I see those clients. And for me, that's fueling, right? So making sure I'm hydrated, I'm eating my lunch, maybe I pop out the back door, go for a quick walk, get some fresh air. I often use going to get coffee as an excuse to go outside. It's my toxic trait. Let's not say toxic trait. It's just I fucking love coffee. Um, and so what do I need to have to be able to be at my best? And
Yeah.
then also in the morning, it's okay, if I'm going into a meeting that I know maybe I have to be at a higher level of advocacy, or we're talking about something where I'm one of 2 mental health providers in my space. And so I have to be on my game to advocate or to educate and make sure that the message of mental health is getting across. And so and sometimes those meetings can be energy draining, right? Like I call them fuck suckers. And so it just like drains this energy. So I might go into a meeting and say like I'm only going to give this meeting 2 of my fucks. And so in the meeting, I am monitoring how much is going out. I'm monitoring my emotional reaction because for me, if I get really frustrated with something, that can drain my fucks.
Mhm.
And so it's a posture of, okay, I'm the expert in the room on this area. I understand that not everybody's going to get it. I am going to say my points and then I'm going to sit and breathe. And I'm not going to worry about everybody else's process because I know what is true on this topic. And
Mhm.
so I manage my way myself in a way that doesn't allow this energy to go off. And if I feel like I'm starting to get to my limit, I literally say, "Okay, I have 0 more fucks to give." And I take a step back. And so for me, that's a way of putting caps on
Mhm.
the energy that I am willing to spend in a certain area or with a certain person. And then also if it's like a Tuesday and I know there's a lot going on towards the end of the week and somebody's like, "Hey, you wanna hit up happy hour?" But I know maybe my sleep wasn't so great Sunday into Monday. I'm feeling a little bit more tired. I went and got that afternoon coffee, and I know that I need to be really intentional in the evening, go home, relax, have a good dinner that's gonna fuel me and get to bed on time. Then I can say to myself, I literally have 0 fucks to give to that because I know it's going to use energy and drain me and put me in a deficit at the end of the day that's not gonna serve me for the full week of work that's ahead of me. So for me, it's a lot of boundary, like internal boundary setting, and then also boundary setting with other people.
Yeah, and I like that too. It's for you at this point because you've used it so long and you obviously are the creator of it. It's become what I hear more intuitive for you. It's like
Yeah.
you know how much certain things are going to cost in terms of fucks, and so you can prioritize and plan accordingly. So
Mhm.
I'm curious, when you first started, was there more of like paper to pencil kind of jotting down, or was it from the get go for you always kind of more of an intuitive thing?
Yeah, for me, it's more intuitive, and I think it's because I have lived in this way nearly my whole life, and I teach this stuff,
Yep.
right? So, it's more of than how I walk other people through it and take them through the process, and so much of it is grounded in self-awareness, right? Who am I? What am I about? What is on like, we do have to look at what is on my plate,
Yep.
and like, am I living in alignment with my values?
Yeah.
Right? Because I talk to so many women who have all of these things on their plate that doesn't contribute to their goals. And,
Yeah.
we all have to do laundry and like clean our house and, so those things aside, but it's where like what are the things that we're doing where we're just spending energy to spend energy? I have a way that I'm using that is
Sure.
in January in my journal, I made this to-do list and there's a lot of little tasks on there that have just moved from October's to-do list to November's to December's, and here they are on January's, and it's February and I haven't crossed them off, right? And so I was having a conversation with myself of like, I'm actually challenging myself, how am I using it?
Yeah.
And it has been more intuitive to me, but I am starting to bring it more to the forefront as an exercise for myself of realignment and recognizing I have some big things in the works right now, and I want to make sure that my energy is focused on the areas that matter most to me
Yeah.
in my life right now. And so I actually went into that to-do list and I had a little conversation with myself and I was like, Jehu, these activities will not take long. They're just tedious. And it is a shift into the reality of this big goal that I have right now and recognizing that the tedious tasks in the background are on the daily siphoning off energy. It may be a quarter of a fuck every day, but how many months did I tell you that those things have moved? And then every day that I look at that to-do list, it's siphoning off. It's like a secret behind the scenes fuck sucker. It's not like a huge draw, but it's like, and I'm just gonna take a little bit. So I've
Yep.
said to myself, get in there, knock those things out. I even put this is where I took time, like the time management piece, and I
Sure.
wrote on the top, like this category of things is gonna take me an hour. This category of things is gonna take me 5 minutes. What the fuck are you doing? Like, come on, go, girl. And so I'm having this conversation with myself of there are things around the house that are draining your energy. And so this weekend, when we get off this call, I'm gonna go work out, and then I'm tackling as much as I wanna work on the new project, I am tackling all of these pieces because I know it is just draining energy off of me. That doesn't need to happen. I'm gonna sage the house, I'm gonna do all
Yeah.
the woo-woo shit, you know? And I know that that is going to be an internal reset,
Yeah.
and in turn, it's going to help that just the recharge on the daily, it's like when you keep something plugged into a socket, here's a fun fact, friends, even if it's not turned on, it's pulling energy from that socket.
Right.
So, unplug some shit.
Yeah.
It's just really
Yep.
intense. But, like, that's what I'm doing is I'm, like, gonna complete these tasks,
Yeah.
essentially unplugging it so it's not draining unnecessary energy because I don't wanna pay that light bill.
Right.
My
We
life.
don't. Yeah. If it's not being used, take it out.
Yeah. Fuck
Pull it out. Yeah.
it.
No, I love this. I just have to pause for a moment and say I love like more the more you talk about it, the more I really feel like how well-rounded this approach is to living life, right? Like we've talked about energy, right? Like energy suckers. We've talked about boundaries. And then really like looking at your life and this helps you to see like you said, am I living in alignment with what's really truly important and valuable to me? Like,
Yeah.
am I really living the way that I say I want to live? I
Mhm.
mean, this, like I said, it's like a full, well rounded approach to living your life
Yeah.
by utilizing this. So
Yeah.
I think my next like thought here is for women who are thinking about like, okay, I want to like go all in on this no fucks given method. Would you say that maybe for them it's like looking at their day, their weeks, their months, and to your point, like seeing what they're doing that maybe isn't in alignment first before
Mhm.
they go into like really tapping into the 10 fucks and prioritizing their day and seeing like what they can and can't give and what's going to drain them and what's going to be reinvigorating or re-energizing to them, would you say that maybe that's where they start is like, and how would they
Right.
start that? I guess the next question too, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think, the masterclass that I did with you all, we had an hour and a half, and so we went straight to action, and anytime that I teach somebody about significant behavior change, or we're looking to make some of those adjustments, like, through therapy, the very first step is collecting the data. We
Mhm.
have to know what's going on to then be able to make intentional and meaningful change, those adjustments that's gonna make an impact. I think a lot of times what happens is you have personal development guru A telling you, this is the formula. You have to do these 6 steps. And then guru B is like, it's not 6 steps, it's 12 with 3 parts of each one, and it's like, my morning routine is the best morning routine. And like, eat this, do this movement, like, whatever, fuck ever. And so, and so I think we just get, again, like caught up in this cultural phenomenon of chasing the shiny object
Mhm.
and seeing, "Oh, it's working for that person, so let me try it,"
Mhm.
without having a true assessment and collecting the data of what's going on in our life. So, to the person who's really wanting to make sustainable, meaningful change,
Sure.
I would say take the next 2 weeks and observe your life. Observe your life, and that may mean you pull up a notes app or you get a journal or even in your planner. And as you go through the day, write down, okay, I went to this meeting and these are the people that were in it. And I think I spent 4 bucks, right? And maybe it's because we were launching a product at work. And so it required more energy, right? We were in the brainstorming mode. And so my brain is going, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized, ooh, by 2 o'clock, I was tanked.
Mhm.
And I wasn't hydrating in the morning. Listen, I'm talking to myself here. I was chugging coffee. My water bottle maybe I've had taken 2 sips out of it. And wow, I was on such a roll that I worked through lunch. So, okay, let's be aware, collect the data. We're not making massive shifts. We need to understand what's happening, and we have to track every little element. And I know there's somebody listening to this right now who's like, I don't want to track. And I'm like, cool. Well, then you won't change your life. Tracking is tedious, but we need to understand you wake up, you take a shower, take your dog out, you get yourself ready for work, you get your kids ready for school, you're making lunches, you're changing laundry, you're driving to work. What are all of these things? And how is it adding to our life, adding energy, or is it using energy? And using energy, it's not a bad thing, right? It's not like you're trying to put money in your savings account and not touch it. We're going to spend energy. You and I are spending energy having this conversation right now. I'm also getting energized by it, but it's a spend, and so I'm like going to net zero on this, right? I'm going to have like excitement and energy and buzz within my body where I'm like, I'm going to go throw some weights around. This is going to be great. So we're not trying to hold on to them, right? But we need to understand how we're spending them, and then where do we need to hold on intentionally,
Yeah.
and then if we can't hold, how are we refilling? It's just
Yeah.
like you go on a road trip, and if you know you're going an hour down the road and you're just going to chill, then you need 1 tank of gas because you're going to go and you're going to come back and you don't need to recharge. But if I'm trying to drive from Delaware to come see you, I'm going to have to fill the tank up. So to expect that I'm going to get to you on 1 tank of gas is unrealistic. It's the same thing with our life. Don't try to drive cross country on 1 tank of gas. It's not going to work. Even if you have a Tesla, you're going to have to stop and recharge that shit, you know?
That's right. No, that's great. I love that. And I think that for a lot of people, to your point, is intimidating to have to collect that data, right? Because there, I think a lot of times are things that come up on that list that we're either not proud of, ashamed of, embarrassed to admit that we do those things throughout the day, whatever the case may be. But to your point again, if you want to make meaningful change, you have to know where you're starting from to be able to move the needle, you know?
Absolutely.
Uh,
And, we need to go about it from that stance of, like, non-judgmental,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Things are happening and, like, so fucking what? It's happening.
right.
Cool. It is a data point.
Yeah,
That's all it is. Data doesn't have feelings. You
right.
have the feelings.
Yep.
Collect the data and then we know what to do with it. There is no sense in beating yourself up and shoulda, coulda, woulda and, like, doing all that stuff. It just gets messy and it is a fuck sucker. Like, stop it.
Right. Well, and as well, you don't have to share it with anyone, right? So
Right.
it's like
Right.
you don't need to worry about who's going to see it. Burn the data if
Right.
you're going
Right.
to after you're done. Like once you get what you
Absolutely.
need out of it, burn it if that's what you need to do. That's
Yeah.
I've done that with my therapist before. She's like,
Yeah.
"You don't want anyone to see this? Take it home and burn it." I'm like, "Okay, done." Like,
Yeah.
you can
Absolutely.
do whatever you need to do to make that go away and to clear the space, clear the air, so that you
Yeah.
can move forward. But it's ultimately for you and your benefit. So, don't let anybody around you, your significant other, your friends, family, intimidate that process because
Yeah.
ultimately they're not making the change. You are,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. And it's gonna have a positive impact on those relationships.
Yeah.
I once had a client who told me that they were working through a journal and they didn't want to they were, like, challenging themselves to stay in that journal, but there was, like, this chunk of time that was frustrating them. So they took duct tape and duct taped those pages together so that it was just, like, containing it. I was like, that is awesome. Because she was like, I don't wanna get rid of it. I don't wanna rip it out, like, it's a part of my life,
Yeah.
and I don't need access to it anymore." So she just fucking duct taped it. It was the coolest thing ever.
I love that.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it. Okay, this just came to my mind too. I was thinking like putting my teacher hat on for
Mhm.
a moment. This method to me seems similar to what I teach my students of like, I don't know if you've ever heard of like bucket fillers and bucket dippers. Like
Okay.
for kids, I feel like they can kind of relate to this too. The things you do and say to others are energy draining or energy giving,
Yes.
right? And so either your
Absolutely.
bucket is being filled with water or it's depleted. And when it's
Yep.
depleted, when you have nothing left, you feel like shit. You
Yep.
feel like crap.
Mhm.
So I just love the full, like I said, the full circle moment I'm seeing here is like kids can kind of relate to it and maybe that way, especially if we don't want to use the F word with them too.
Right.
But it's also like this for me, I think is like your no fucks given method is like the adult version of that because it goes
Absolutely.
so much deeper. There's like we said, there's so many more layers and so many more pieces
Yep.
to it that allow you, like we said, to, you know, make sure that you're balancing your energy, but also making sure that you are balancing keeping your boundaries,
Yep.
with other people so that they're not draining too much of your energy or you're not giving too much energy. And then it's also again allowing you to see what you are actually doing on a daily basis so that you can really determine, am I on an aligned path
Mhm.
or are there some changes that I need to start making so that I am in more alignment with what I desire? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I use the language of alignment very intentionally, right? Because of what we were saying with
Yeah.
this the self-judgment and all of that, we get misaligned. Our cars get misaligned for
Right.
like there are potholes in our road and it's nothing that you did or didn't do. I mean, yes, sometimes you may be consciously avoiding something and yeah, you're going to get into misalignment, but things happen throughout the day. Like you were talking about, you may go into your day with a plan and then boom, something comes out of nowhere and shakes things up. And so that is a misalignment. And so if we come back to what are some of our foundational principles, what are our values, and recognizing, have I shifted a couple degrees off? Okay, data. Let me understand how that happened. And let's make some shifts to come back. It doesn't have to be a hard right turn back onto the highway, but sometimes we need to take the scenic route and we need the journey of this misalignment, as like corny as that sounds, there are lessons to be learned at every point if we're open to the lesson. If you are shut off to the lesson and in this self-judgmental place, you're just gonna it's like getting back on the highway with a clunker because you haven't done the work, you
Right.
haven't done the oil change, you haven't rotated your tires, you didn't wipe the bird crap off the window, like, you're fighting against it, like, we are fucking luxury cars, let's treat it like that, and we
Yeah.
have to take care of it, and we have to understand that m maintenance is required, so let's do the maintenance and get back on the road.
I love that. I love that reminder. Yeah, the misalignment is always going to be part of life. That we're
Absolutely.
human. We
Yep,
naturally veer off track, but then
yep,
part of that process too is deciding maybe the reason I got off track was because the way I was heading down was not leading me to ultimately where I needed to go.
yeah,
There's always, like you said, there's always reasons behind those misalignments. I love
yeah.
that.
And
Ah,
sometimes our values shift, right?
yeah,
Like, I think
too.
I I'm gonna use, like, religion and politics, right? Like, you grow up in a home, and the humans who are raising you have values and have beliefs and maybe have spirituality or not, or, that whatever political affiliation they have, and so your life
Yeah.
is guided and shaped by that. And
Yeah.
then as we grow and our frontal lobes become more formed and we have our own experiences in the world and meet other people and can start challenging those beliefs and guidelines, then we may recognize, hey, this part is aligned, but
Yep.
this part not so much. And here's new information that we've learned. And if we are fighting against that, then like, why? Right? Like, allow ourselves to evolve, and so what behaviors you did maybe in college that got you to that point, if there's a piece of this that has fundamentally shifted, then the way we are living our lives should be shifted as well. And I don't use the word should often, but this is a should situation, right? If you were guided by value A and value A has shifted to value Z, you cannot live in alignment with value Z if you're still doing value A shit.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh. So good. So good. So now here's the better part of this conversation. If you are like all in on this zero fucks given method, hold on to your seatbelt because CJ's about to share some really exciting news. Tell the listeners and the viewers what's in the works.
Yeah. So I am writing a book on this method. Oh, watch out.
Yeah.
So it's gonna dive deep into this and it's going to take you through the process of how to live. Maybe this is the title. I don't know, how to live a zero fucks given life. Maybe let's write that down. Let's workshop this. It doesn't have a title yet, like a full book title. But there's going to be a workbook that goes along with it that you can put pen to paper, you can take the action.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and it's coming along. We've got words in a document and it's happening, folks. So yeah, I'm hoping that it won't take the entire 2024 to get like I literally started writing it 4 weeks ago. So we are at the very beginning stages, but I'm pumped about how it's how it's coming to be, but also how it's going to continue coming to be because the community is going to have an opportunity to be part of the book. I'm not going to tell you exactly how right now, but connect with me on social media. I'm going to give you a link to sign up for all the goods. I promise I'm not like an email spammer. I have enough going on right now, but as we get closer to the launch, like the folks on that list are gonna know the um the ins and outs of it like before everybody else. You're gonna have an opportunity to be part of the book, literally like have your thoughts and ideas and your name in the book.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do cool like book launch stuff and workshops and okay, I told you I wasn't gonna put this out in the universe publicly, but I have a coaching program that is in my head for this. So for those people who need accountability or want accountability and the guidance and some time with me, in a small group, and then also, like, the ultimate one that I'm dreaming up is a small group, about 25 people, but also it comes with a one-on-one conversation with me, like, as we get into this so I'm literally going to hand step you through the book, through the workbook, and in this process in community so that we can learn with and from one another and actually put things into action. Because I see so many folks putting books out there with their "I'm guru X and here's my 12-step process. Good luck." I'm
Yeah.
not about that life. Like, I am Dr. CJ and I want to actually help you make meaningful change. And so we're going to put things together to help you make it happen.
I love you. Don't you love her? Don't I just freaking love you. So, in between now and
Yeah.
then, how can women connect with you? Obviously, the
Yeah.
podcast. So let's share that again. Your
Yeah.
IG, any, and of course, getting access to your emails too, all the stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So I will give you the link to sign up so you can drop that in the show notes. Instagram is at the real Dr. Jehu. And I'll be honest, like, social media and I have had a love-hate relationship. And so, you know, blah, whatever. This is not my own therapy session. However, I am like really excited about this process and finally feel like I have that foundation of what I want to share. And I'm like so pumped about it. So we're going to be getting a little bit more active over there. Um, so yeah, follow along. And then on the podcast, Beyond Your Limits, you can find it all the places. Um, our friend Megan, who we refer to her as our favorite journaling ninja on my podcast, but she has a publishing house and she is a writing coach. And so she is taking me through this process. And every month we are releasing a podcast episode about my process of writing the book. And she is coaching me through it. And I'm going to share with you all of the elements of the writing process because I think so many people want to write a book, but we just don't know what it is. So we're pulling the curtain back to share that. So there's this is just like the zero fucks given method. It's like that book has psychological sneak attacks left and right. And the way we are unfolding this process just continues to give and give. And ultimately, like Megan and I believe that stories can save lives and change lives. And we want to empower more people to do the things and write the stories and get them out in the world. And so I am opening up the process to everyone. So you can hear those once a month on my podcast, also on her podcast. And yeah, I'm just in this place of um like I told you, I'm a super structured and routined person, but when it comes to my podcast, I'm I'm gonna step away from structure and just let it unfold and
Yeah.
share more just about what's happening and things that I'm learning and little nuggets, so that I can stay focused on this book project because that is ultimately my main focus right now, aside from like my health and my relationship. This is the focus, and I wanna do it right because you all deserve to have a solid product. Just so excited. And I never in a million years thought I would be excited to write a book. I'm, like, so excited right now.
I'm so excited for you just to see like the enjoyment and the excitement on your face. And just, I feel that it's,
Yeah.
I'm along for the journey from
Yeah.
now all the way through and beyond. So like I can't wait to help promote, to support,
Awesome.
to be part of the process, like all the things. It's
Yeah.
just going to be incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
We're
thank
doing it.
you so much for
Of
being here with
course.
me today. And yeah, I will have all of CJ's information in the show notes so you can reach out to her, connect with her, all the things. And yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you're listening to her podcast. It's awesome. And I just
Thank
have
you.
to say too, I love having seen the evolution of you and your podcast. And
Mm.
I just the best podcasts to listen to are those where people are just truly 100% real, raw,
Mm.
and authentic, and that's you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, I adore you. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too.